So someone sent me a video of James Carville. It's called How to Mock Trump. James Carville was a political analyst and he was a campaign strategist for Bill Clinton. And in the video, he's talking about how frustrating it's been trying to talk to Trump supporters and trying to work through this because no matter what we have thrown at MAGA, nothing will stick. Nothing works. We can fact check them all day. We can provide evidence all day. We can back up what we're saying with data and research and science. It means nothing. Because in their world, everything is a conspiracy. In their world, everything is a deep state plot. In their world, everything is fake news. And so at this point in the game, with Trump still hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit, how are we supposed to combat that type of rhetoric at this point? And I think we can all agree that, yeah, we always need to point to the facts and evidence. We always need to point to the truth. We always need to point to all the failures of Donald Trump, regardless of whether or not they want to accept it or not. We always need to point those things out. But like Carville said in his video, we also just need to resort to absolutely mocking and ridiculing Donald Trump at every chance we can get. There's one thing that Donald Trump cannot stand, and that's to be called a loser. There's one thing that Donald Trump can't stand, and that's to have his failures pointed out. And that's what we need to constantly do. I have been sitting here for the last year writing satirical tunes about the situation. And I've had people say to me, why write satire? Why tackle it that way? And I've said all along because that's the only thing people like that's ever going to listen to. They're not going to hear a really heartfelt song that I could write about the situation. The only thing that's going to make them stop in their tracks and think for 1 second is when you give them back a dose of their own medicine. And Carville was talking about the movie Animal House and how at the end of it, Bluto's going off on that famous speech, John Belushi, where he's going off on that famous speech about, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No. And there's a guy who stands up and says, well, we could fight this in a conventional way, but that would take too long. So what this situation needs is a really stupid gesture on someone's part. And Carville's like, maybe that's where we're at. Maybe at this point, it's just going to take a really stupid gesture on our part because they will never take anything we say serious anyway. And the one thing Donald Trump cannot stand is to be mocked and made fun of and looked like an idiot. I mean, he does a good job of it on his own, but we need to remind him every day what he is. And when his followers look over and see that, yeah, it's going to rile them up. It's going to get them going. But that's the only thing that's ever going to stop them in their tracks and make them think even for a split second. Because if we come at them with a chart or a graph, they're just going to write it off as fake news. If we come at them with video evidence, they're going to say it was tampered with. They're going to say it was AI. They have got to come back for everything. These are the same people that compares him to King David in the Bible. And I've used this wrestling analogy before. But back in the day when Stone Cold Steve Austin came out, he wasn't your typical baby face. He was a straight up heel. But people loved to cheer for him because he would stomp a mud hole in his boss. And people showed up to see it. And all these other wrestlers would come out and they would try to talk with him and they would try to say, oh, he's a bad guy. He broke the rules. Hey, ref, look, he cheated. No one cared. And then along come The Rock. And The Rock was the first person to say, hey, you piece of trailer park trash, I'm going to lay the smack down on your candy ass. And when he did, people started laughing, going, wait a minute, hold on. Because that's what they understand. And that type of theater is what MAGA is. It's theater. It's not politics. It's theater. Donald Trump is theater. Donald Trump is reality TV brought into the political arena. It's completely hijacked it. Now, we're the party of ideas. We're the party that's got ideas. We're the party that stands on the side of truth, stands on the side of democracy. We stand on the side of facts. We stand on the side of science. Yes, we have all of those things. We stand on the side of equality. We have all those things in our bag. But we're never going to be able to put them to use when we got this loud, obnoxious group of people just breathing down our necks. The only way to combat that is just to give it back to them. Point out every day how he is the failed former president who got his ass handed to him by Joe Biden. He's got tiny hands. Stormy Daniels says he's got a tiny dick. He's got syphilis sores on his hands. We just have to drive it on home. Because even the most hardcore supporter will look over at it and go, shit, man, they're giving it back to us. That's the only thing they understand. They don't understand something until it hits them in the face. They don't understand how to have empathy for anybody. That's not what they're about. They're not about empathy and compassion. They're all about rage. They're all about anger. They're all about just frustration. They're never going to latch on to us being empathetic. And I'm not saying that we should stop. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying we should stop. I'm saying when we're dealing with that hardcore group, that's how we're going to have to come back at them, because so far, like Carville said, everything we've tried hasn't worked. And maybe what it needs at this point is just one big stupid gesture. Now, that's the first video that I've actually seen of James Carville in a long time. Back when I was younger, he was definitely a political hero of mine. Then I saw some videos of him talking with Bill Maher, and I kind of tuned out. But this one was refreshing to see. This felt like the James Carville that I remember from 20, 30 years ago. And it was funny, and I highly recommend everybody go check it out. But yeah, at this point in the game, fact-checking Trump supporters is not going to work. But giving them a dose of their own medicine, I think that's all that's left.